Watching this video means you probably are thinking you need to sue someone, or you might be getting sued yourself. So let's talk about what a business lawsuit looks like, and that'll help you decide how to respond to one or whether you might need to file one yourself. So you hear plaintiff and defendant. The plaintiff is the one suing. So we'll use an example of, let's say I'm owed $25,000 from a client who just hasn't paid me. We have an agreement saying they'll pay me X dollars, and they paid some of it, but not all of it. So now I am going to sue them for the $25,000. It's a breach of contract. First thing that usually happens is something called a demand letter. So I might hire a lawyer and say, hey, let's see if we can kind of nudge them into doing what they're supposed to. So you say, hey, pay $25,000 by 15 days from now. Otherwise, we're gonna pursue all legal options. So then they don't do that. And you've tried. You're trying to avoid this. Then you file what's called a complaint. And it has all the facts alleged, all the parties, and then why you should deserve some sort of recovery. So you file that with the clerk of court. It gets clocked. And then it has to be served on the other party, the defendant. Once they get served, this can depend on whether it's federal or state. Some states are different, but they have 30 days to respond. If they don't, you sometimes can get a default judgment, means you just automatically win. It's a little more complicated than that, but if they don't respond, you do have an expedited way to get a judgment, which is what happens at the end of it. Anyway, let's say they respond. So they respond to this lawsuit. So these are called the pleadings. The next phase is what's called discovery. This is where you say, all right, well, show me the contract, show me your damages, show me any sort of paperwork that you might have. You also can ask questions of the other side called interrogatories. And then ultimately you'll have depositions. That means you sit at a conference table. There's a court reporter that takes every single thing down. The plaintiff will probably have their deposition, the defendant, and also witnesses, people who might be fact witnesses. Pretty much everyone who would be at a trial. So whenever you see a trial on TV, all of the people have gone through a deposition. So there's not these bombshells that you might think are there, because all the questions have been asked before. They've gone through this process under oath, answering similar questions, if not the exact same ones. So you do all that. The idea is that when all the facts are on the table, it'll help the parties to find some agreement, and the dispute will get smaller, because we don't just have this version and this version. It's now we have, there's more undisputed facts usually, not always, but usually as you get closer along. And then you can go through things like a mediation. You show up, there's a mediator, you get in two separate rooms, and the mediator goes back and you say, hey, I want not $25,000 now, but I gotta pay this lawyer, so I want $40,000. They take it to the other side and they say, well, you didn't do a good job, so I'm not paying you anything. And they go back and forth to $35,000 to $10,000 and try to work out some sort of agreement. It's totally voluntary. And if that doesn't work, then you go to a trial, and then you put the case on, and you see what the jury says. Sometimes it can be in front of a judge, sometimes it can be in front of an actual jury. It just depends. So that's how a lawsuit works. There's a filing fee when you get it started. So it's not terribly difficult to get a lawsuit started. So if you've been wronged, I'd reach out to a lawyer where you live and see what your options are, see how much it costs. And so that's what a business lawsuit looks like. They, unfortunately, can take a very, very long time. I'm in Charleston. The courts are still backed up from COVID, believe it or not. And there's motions. So let's say in the middle of a lawsuit, you might say, hey, they didn't give me all their discovery. They didn't give me all their documents. So you ask a judge to make them do it. You can wait 2, 4, 5, 6 months to get that heard in front of a judge. Some things just need to be decided by a judge when the lawyers can't work it out. Anyway, I hope that helps explain it. And I hope you don't ever need to get in a lawsuit. To help you avoid that, use templates from Drafted Legal. They kind of try to see around these pitfalls and make sure that you've thought about everything to avoid this, because they're not any fun.